Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Grand Kingdom. Weird bit of story with this one. This is basically a spiritual successor to a game by Vanillaware. But funnily enough, Vanillaware actually had nothing to do with this one. It's made by a different company and published by Spike Chunsoft and of course NIS America over here. So we'll just get loading into my game real quick before we start talking about what this game really is. I've spent about 8 hours in it so far. 8 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. It'll tell me as soon as we load in. Yeah, we'll enable online connectivity. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Here we go. So there's one of our little assistants there. Tells us about stuff, tells us about the war. And a little hint there, which I'm not going to bother to read. Game autosaves, and here we go. And if I go to my party menu, it should tell me exactly how long I've been playing for. 8 hours, 17 minutes. I was close enough. So anyway, this is Grand Kingdom. It's a strategy game where you have to take parties of troops out into do quests and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to hire a party member, then we'll go over what my parties currently look like, and then we'll go and actually do a mission with them. Then we'll come back, check out the rest of the menus, and then we'll head out to war, because that's just generally the way things go in this game. So, if we go to hire a troop, we can pick out someone from the range of troops that we have available at the moment, and I'll be able to explain how everything works. So, we've got several different classes that we can pick here, including a Dragon Mage, a Challenger, a Witch, and a Medic. Okay, so there are 17 different classes in this game, and they've all got their own different, well, basically their best stats. They've all got different best stats that they can use. And as you can see, they've also got different abilities and field skills. And their abilities are something that are automatically put into place. And their field skill is something you can use out in the field for a cost of a specific amount of points. You can have up to 50 at one time. And as you can see, they've all got a bunch of different stats. And they go from A through F. And this witch here has a C in Constitution, which means she'll get more health faster. I can actually demonstrate how this works. So if I go to hire her, you can also customize the characters in a fair few ways. I wish there was a little more. You can unlock stuff as time goes on, but it seems a tiny bit minimalistic. Personally, I would have liked a little more, but you can make some pretty unique styles with this, so it's not that big of a deal. Every character has a bunch of different stats, and as you can see here, depending on your grade, it depends on how fast your stat goes up. So, say the agility here. If I had to put 8 stats into this, I would get a bonus stat on top of that. However, since my Constitution is at 5, or a C, I only have to put in 5 before I get the bonus stat. So if I put in 10 here, I'll get to 12. However, this is actually a really bad witch, because witches are glass cannons, more or less. You want them to be more powerful with their spells, so putting points into Constitution is a bit of a waste of time, honestly. So that's actually kind of a bad witch. But anyway, that's how that works, basically. You come here and you pick up 4 different members to put into your party. It's always recommended that you go with a medic, because medics are able to do things like health potions, and they are very useful in that sense. But every character has a different ability and what they're good at, so as you can see here, you can just have a quick look at what every individual class does. And there are a lot of different classes. The Dragon Mage is a bit of a pain in the ass. They cost 2 slots, but they're really powerful, but they cost 2 slots, so you can only take along 2 friendlies with you. Yep, you can put down toxic barrels and plenty explosive ones. It's actually kind of a neat class. Unfortunately, I don't have a Challenger, but that's actually a really good stat for a Challenger, to have strength as a C, but oh well, we'll go back to base and I'll show you what my current parties look like, because in this game you want to be raising more than one party at a time, and there's a very good reason for that. We'll go into how everything else works at the soon enough. Oh, my war contract's expired. Okay. So, So you have to get a war contract from time to time. Actually, you know what? I'll leave this until later. So, we'll have a look at my parties right now. So this is my first party. I've got a blacksmith, a witch, a medic, and a lancer. The blacksmith is a tank. The lancer is also a tank, but he's also pretty strong. And my witch is my ranged attacker. And my medic is obviously my medic. My second troop has a lancer, a gunner, and a dragon mage. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to fight with. And my third troop has a fighter, a witch, a medic, and a dark knight. The dark knight is a fully attack-based class, and the fighter is a little bit more balanced. So, there are a lot of different ways you can play this system, but as you can see here, I prefer trying to keep a relatively level balance between ranged ability, short-range ability, and the ability to heal, because healing in this game is very, very important, as I've learned with my second troop. They all have unique equipment, so you can buy things like weapons, and you can forge weapons, and I will be showing that off eventually. And you can apply these gems to them, which increase both their mastery, which makes them better with those abilities. Or you can make their units more powerful, or you can increase their stats or stuff like that. It's pretty obvious. You can also come here to check their skills. Now, this is interesting. So the idea here is that you can set your controls. Now, for some characters, you want to set this to technical, because you can have 6 abilities equipped at once. But for some characters, like melee-focused characters, you can have a chain of 4 abilities set in one go, and then you can just do the timing correctly so that you have a decent melee chain, and then you can just worry about having 2 other things as your sub-abilities. You can also have an assist ability, and you can also have support abilities. So as you can see, after your turn, automatically activate the defense of that skill. And every character has something different along these lines. You can also make a formation here, so my tank's up the front, my attacker's behind the tank, and my 2 ranged characters are far behind that. You can also come here to check the individual members. I don't know why you would insist on doing this. And you can also check the status. And here's the options. So, you've got a bunch of different things here which are fairly useful. And you can also skip quest events in the field, turn on the indicator for the path map, and you can also change the direction of movement. And you can change the dub, but I really haven't been paying attention to the dub, because this isn't that sort of game. But again, that's getting into the war system of the game, which I don't want to get into just yet, because I want to show you what the game's basically going to be like if you're playing in single player. So if we go and get a quest, we only have the ability to get single quests, the travel quests, and the campaign quests. I'm not going to show the campaign quest because this might show a spoiler, and people have been a little bit uppity about that lately. Just a little. Just a little. But frankly, nothing's been happening in the story of any sort of consequence. There is a lot of story campaign because they've added the individual campaigns of the 4 nations that after the main campaign is complete. So you'll have a fair bit of single player content. There are also single-player quests, so we can do a delivery, we can do infiltration, which is a stealth mission, we can defend Tior, which is a defense mission, which is a really annoying mission, or we can search an area. So once we get a party up to a specific level, we can run around the area and fight enemies and collect items and find treasure chests. So these are actually very useful for leveling up lower level parties, because they will spawn new monsters and new resources for you to go get anyway, which is quite nice, and it's probably recommended that you go do that. But right now, we're going to do the delivery to Cauldron mission, because that's very useful. So we get a certain amount of gold, royals, and sometimes we get special items. Gold is meant for buying stuff at the shop, royals is meant for buying stuff at the capital city, but again, that gets into the war, so we'll get into that. Thankfully, your quests are balanced depending on who your troop is. So if you pick, say, this troop here, who's level 5 across the board, the quest will be down leveled to level 5. The only time this doesn't apply is in the search missions again, and in the main campaign missions. So if you've got a main party, you'll mainly be using them for your campaign, which kind of sucks because I've got a blacksmith as my main attacker in my first party. So yeah, not fantastic, but we'll deal with it. You can also pick a set of items to go along with. This one gives me extra salves, though. And you can also adjust the difficulty. So you can just adjust the amount of actions you take on the quest. So basically, this is your time limit. If you take half the time limit, you get bonus gold, royal, and XP. But for the purpose of demonstration and that I don't fuck it up badly, we will go with 130. So let's go. I've spent 10 minutes on the menus already. I'm going to be spending a ton more time in the menus later on, so we'll be doing this right around now, will we? Anytime the game decides it wants to load. It's a bit of a slow loader, honestly, but once it gets in there, it's not too bad. So your windbags. Yeah, you can pick your name of your mercenary outfit at the very beginning of the game, and the default is Legionnaires, but I thought that was boring, so I picked one that I thought fit me. So yeah, we've got a quest. Here's your two guys. The English dub is your typical NIS America dub. It's not great, it's not bad, it's just a little bit boring, more or less. So, here we go. This is where the majority of your strategy plays out. So you've got a gigantic grid, and you need to find your way to the goal at the end of this grid. But along the way, there are both supplies you can go get, as in this grid here, and there are also things like medics that you can go to get your health back. There's an obstacle here that you have to get past, and there's a treasure chest here. So the idea is that we have a limited amount of moves to explore the entire area. So we need to start moving. It's turn-based, so everything else on the grid moves along with us. You can also hit circle to stand by, but again, you don't want to do this very often because you have a limited amount of moves. Eventually, you are going to get into combat, though, so let's actually go and do that. Combat takes I'll finish that thought when we're out of the battle, but anyway, here we are. So here's a bunch of demons, and here's us. So the field has got 3 lanes, and we can move in between any of these lanes as we wish. We can also move up and down the lanes as far as we can possibly get. And I am using the select button to restart, so if you're wondering what the hell that flashing is, that's me pressing select. So, the idea is that we can walk up to an enemy using our move gauge, and the second gauge in the back there is an action gauge. So let's demonstrate what the action gauge is like. You can use the action gauge there. I missed that attack there because I wasn't paying attention. You use that gauge there to do attacks. And you can guard, well, some enemies, some classes can guard at the end of their attack pattern, and they will use the remaining action bar in order to guard. And the more action bar you dedicate to guarding, the more strength you put into guarding, so that you're capable of taking more damage. As you can see, there is a set of turns that people can take. You can see down the bottom there. And the healer is a ranged class, and she has access to both thrown heal potions and thrown acid potions, which hurt people. The mage has access to spells. Let me show one off. So basically the idea is you got to press the button to attack when the cursor is over the enemy. Most classes have some sort of attack like this. There are bonuses to like being behind enemies as well, like that, and also you can hurt enemies with friendly fire, which is a little annoying, but I'll just take care of this before that really becomes an issue. Ooh, that's not pleasant. I better get over that. Thankfully, oh well, I was gonna say thankfully magic is pretty good at breaking guard in comparison to your typical attacks. So if I get the mage just as close as possible and then do this, I could break that guard wide open and bring it in for the final kill. So there we go, that was a quick example of battles. You get TP throughout the fight, and you can use this to activate some special abilities. Like, if you have 2 points and one of your characters is about to take a fatal blow, you can choose to grit, which will save them, but they'll still be on 1 health, so you have to protect them from attack. Also, if you're really close to killing an enemy and you have a point spare, you can get another one of your characters to pop in and help you do the rest of the damage. So we are going to pick up the resources here. And we might as well come down here. We might as well come down here and grab this treasure chest. I am running desperately low on time though, so do I have any skills I can use? So if you press... See how I've earned TP from the battle? So now I can use that to do... Well, I usually could use it to do abilities, but I can't do it here. You can also come here to use your supplies pretty quickly. And you can also check your quest info and how everybody's doing. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to get into another battle here. There are a ton of battles in this game. Like, don't get yourself wrong. There'll be plenty of opportunities to flex your tactical muscle, because there is a ton of battles to do here. So, we've got two Arcanists, so we can demonstrate how they work. I'll just go and beat the shit out of the witch while we're waiting. Damn, I missed. Oh well. And you can attack from different lanes, which is quite convenient. And I'll just guard back on my original lane. I'll get the ladies moving up too, because Arcanists are mainly long-range troops, so you probably want to be as close to them as possible. We'll just do a long-range fire spell, and there we go. And I can just juggle him around for a little, because that's quite funny. So, with the game having 19 different classes and all, there is a lot of strategy to be had here. You can also buy items that'll go... Excuse me, that'll go on the field and protect you from multiple things, and the enemies are more than happy to use this on you, so it's well worth noting that you can do that. But yeah, the Arcanist is basically a different form of the Witch. They can use frost spells. But we're done here. We get some of our HP back. We gain experience and level up, just as you expect from characters like this. And you can assign more stats like back on the higher screen that I showed you earlier. And that's basically how that works. The quests in this game are a bit samey after a while. Oh, there's an item back here. I'll pick that up. It's a hunting feather.
What'd you find, boss? Something valuable?
Okay, so we have an enemy here. An invisible enemy who's managed to just hop right on top of me. And thankfully I moved out of the way of the catapult, because the catapult will actually like do support attacks every turn if I was in range of it. So it's a very good idea to stay out of the way of those if you're trying to do a fight. And that thing's gone invisible, so I'm probably going to want to go and kill the rest of his friends while I have the opportunity. I did hurt that one pretty bad. Now, you. If you kill the leader relatively quickly, it will demoralize the rest of the men. So you actually get a benefit from doing so. It's quite nice. There are plenty of other abilities you can have as well. There are archers who have the ability to preemptively trap areas, so if you can walk across them, you can do damage to an enemy, and there's plenty of other things you can do as well. Unfortunately, I can't hit any of them with a long-range attack from here because I'd hit both of my guys, so I don't want to go hitting them just yet. And here comes this thing. I am going to take care of this. Well, it's dead now, so I won't need to worry about him. And now you. But yeah, if you lose your own leader, it turns into a bit of a problem as well, so you probably want to be a bit careful about that. Thankfully, if you're really close to an enemy, the acid potions actually hit them dead on. But the same also applies to any sort of friendly you might throw a potion at, which is, you know, a bit of a problem. I'll just set him on guard just to be safe. Him too. And here comes the boom. So yeah, as you can see, you do hurt your friends if you're not careful. The strategy is pretty satisfying, especially when you start mixing and matching the different classes to do specific things. Do you want to go a full range build? Do you want to go a full close combat build, you want to go a little bit of balance, you want to go with freaking 2 dragon mages, you can realistically do that. And the game will not punish you for it in the slightest. It's quite neat. Unfortunately, I'm not that big of a fan of this overworld bit here, at least in the single player quests, because it just seems like a tiny bit of a waste of time, honestly. I can use my ability to actually heal this up and we can do this a lot faster. If I couldn't do it, I'd have to, like, jump across or risk losing health, or I'd have to do something along the lines of, what am I thinking? Oh dear. Okay, apparently I need to get out of the way of... Apparently I get armament support, so I need to get out of the way of that. Oh. Every enemy on the battlefield has received some damage. That's actually quite convenient. But I do like the idea of moving around on the grid and, like, having to be fast about whatever you're doing.
This is acceptable.
And when you've got...
This is acceptable.
When you've got the turn count to take care of, and the fact that if battle's going for too long, it'll actually drain your turn count, you do have to worry about getting through as fast as possible and trying to manage your health and all that. That all makes sense, but after a while, it starts to get a little bit repetitive, and by little, I mean a lot. This is a special enemy, and they can actually do things like support charms and stuff like that. You do not want them to get the upper hand, so I'm going to go in front of this guy and attack the leader while I have the opportunity. Gave him poison, so it takes off HP every turn, you know. Pretty obvious stuff. The strategy and the battles themselves, though, are still pretty good, especially since they've got lots of different enemy types to work with. There's all sorts of neat things going on with this game and its strategy. So you do need to spend a lot of time thinking about how you're going to build your parties and what exactly you plan on doing with them. Do you want to equip... What do you want to equip them with? How do you want them to play off each other? Because the classes are actually pretty good at that. Especially when you've got something like a mage who really can help you out when it comes to things like healing. That healing is always important. But there are all sorts of ways you can play around with the different kinds of classes. It's really neat. But anyway, that's the end of that fight. And now I'll be able to move on to the goal, hopefully. So yeah, the overworld bit is a bit dull after a while because it is mainly the same thing. The different quests just revolve around, like, defending a single area or going to a single area or just stuff like that, really. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just going to go straight to the goal here. And we're done. Instead of taking care of that enemy there. So now that we've finished the quest, we get our reward, we get our items that we can sell some of it, and we level up. So, more constitution for this guy, please, because he's really good in constitution. And I'll probably just give him a little bit extra strength. And this is my witch, so I probably want to... I'll give her a bit more in vitality and constitution. And this is my mage, and this is my witch, I should say, my healer. And, I mean, I picked a really bad healer, because C for strength in a healer is useless. But anyway. You also get reputation with the various factions, which doesn't really seem to do much. There are some factions that won't let you take on some quests without the proper amount of reputation with that faction, though. So, you know, that's just the way things work. So, that's a pretty good example of what you'll be going through with a single player. The story quests are that, but there is a story sprinkled on. It's just not that interesting. it really isn't that interesting at all. I've been through like 5 chapters of it, and it's basically nothing going on at the moment. So I've got nothing to be interested in, nothing to be talking about. Infiltration quests are actually really boring too, because what happens is you have to avoid all the simple enemies, so the whole mission takes place on the grid, and you basically just have to fill with the grid to try and get to the end. So these missions are quite boring too. Thankfully, you can update the quests for a gold fee. So, you know, if you want to skip what quests are there, you can do that. So that was a quick look at the single player. Now, the main portion of this game is the war, and the absolute majority of the game revolves around it. Money is mainly meant to, other than buying equipment, buying stuff for war. You get royals, and the majority of stuff you spend royals on is stuff for war. So we'll get on to what the war is in a minute. We're not going to go to the war yet. We're going to go pretty much everywhere else first. So the idea is that you have to pick a clan to go along with. And the 4 clans are constantly fighting online. So what you want to do is you want to pick a clan and you want to make a war contract with them. And depending on how long you go for the contract for, so say if I went for 5 wars, I'd get a bunch of bonus gold and royals just because I spent that long with that clan. So I'll just bind myself to them because why not, right? So now that we're in a contract with them, we can visit their capital city and we can go through and do stuff from that. I forgot to show this off too. So this is your policy. So when you do specific quests, as you can see listed here, you can get bonuses for your XP, your money, and your honor. Makes sense, right? Pretty simple stuff. If we go to the shop, we can buy items for the war. So you can see all the different things that you can buy here for the war. And I've got a bunch of different stuff. You can also buy grimoires, which let you assign stuff to your troops. You can buy all sorts of different weapons, and they basically just like bonuses to your attack, your defense. Same with the gear stuff here, and you can also buy stuff that has slots in it. And you can buy objects for setting down for the attack and defense. Again, I won't be doing that because there are going to be examples of that later on, but they all make pretty much a decent amount of sense. And you can also come here to sell stuff. If we come to training, we can learn skills. So you can change your skills here of both the ability and the field. So that works, right? You can also, if we go back, there's also the Grand Grimoire, which is a very special thing, which I can't bloody remember what it does, because go me, right? And once you hit a specific level and you have a specific item, you can upgrade a troop's class in a specific area. So that is how you get their aptitudes raised, which is very useful indeed, because you need to do that if you want them to get stats particularly fast. Their level does reset to 1 when you do this though, which is a good and a bad thing, because it lets you get more stats, and it lets you get your ass kicked by anything that's anything above level 3 or so. So it's very useful to do that when you've got the ability to. You can also come to information to basically see what's the leaderboard is at the moment, because there are tons of leaderboards. So if I come here, as you can see, you can check the scoreboard. You can check the rank history, your followers, the nation power, and all that. You can also check the tutorials. The tutorials in this game, though, are practically text walls. So be prepared to fiddle around for a little bit, trying to figure out exactly how everything works, because there's a ton of tutorials in this game. Let's go to Valkyr's capital. There are capital cities for other cities as well, but basically you always want to go for the one that you've got the war contract with and that you've got the most reputation with. So we can come here and we can go to the plaza and we can talk to people and they'll have information for us, and there'll also be things like trades. And if you talk to the bard, he will sing the praises of someone who's playing at the moment. Which is actually kind of neat, honestly. If we go to the royal castle, we can talk to the king. And he'll tell us about our war record and give us a little bit of advice. Sometimes he'll also have stuff to give us as well. If we go to the barracks, unfortunately, we can't actually go to war at the moment. But basically, the idea is that we can vote on where we want to invade, how we want to do it, how we want to set our tactics, and what we want to research in order to, like, get an upper hand on something. Like, say, we can make our ballistae 20% more powerful or something like that. We can set all sorts of stuff like that for the war effort. And if we come to the market, we can come to the shop, and they'll be selling different things depending on who you're going with. So we can buy a God Spear, which is minimum level 30, but it has a ton of attack and a fair few slots. We can go to the blacksmith, and they'll craft things for us, and they'll also upgrade things for us. So we can forge a steel longsword here with these resources, and we can also upgrade the same sorts of swords with said resources. And that's what you use the resources you buy here for. We can also come to the trading post, and the trading post here will give us a bunch of stuff to buy. And you use these resources along with the barracks in order to build up your army. My main problem with this is that there seems to be no way to do any sort of social discussion. And you have to rely on the outside in order to do this sort of war preparations, which is a little bit disappointing, honestly, because it would be nice if I could talk to my fellow man and have discussions about what sort of war tactics would be relatively useful in terms of being able to, like, carry out attacks and stuff like that. Like, imagine if we could communicate among our fellow players and be like, hey, let's all go short range and have a bunch of, like, long range support backing us up so that we're stronger in one way and another. Which is a little bit disappointing that that's not there, but you can do outside communication to do that as well. So we'll return to base for the moment. Hopefully there's a war going on and I can hop into a war, but, you know, I'd be amazed if there wasn't, because if there wasn't, there'd be absolutely nothing to do at the moment, which is a little bit disappointing, but, which would be a little bit disappointing. So, that's all the stuff related to the war. You mainly collect the resources and the money and all that to go to war. So let's go to war. Aw, we can't go to war. That's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to cut this video and come back when we can actually go to war. That is really disappointing. I don't understand why they make it so that I can't go to war at the moment. So, I'm gonna have to cut this video, but I'll come back when war is available. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the war was getting prepared. I guess it has to do that. It's annoying because it doesn't tell you how long it's gonna take. It's right on the hour right now, so yeah, it just became available again. So that's kind of annoying. I wish it would tell you more about when the war is going to be available again. But anyway. Something else I should mention is the other set of quests that are unlocked in single player once you've part of the war. So, you can pick one of these quests, and it works about the same way as the single player quests, except there's a second AI-controlled party of adventurers who will also go, mercenaries, who will also go and try and complete the quest at the same time, and you have to race them to it, which admittedly is fairly interesting as a quest type, but considering this video is already half an hour long and I haven't even shown off how war works yet, I'm not going to be showing one of them off. But you do have to be online to get those quests and accept them, and they do expire within 24 hours. So, without further ado, let's go to war.
The final battle has come. Plant the flag of justice in this land.
So, wars take place once a day. And the idea is that a bunch of battles happen on the field. And we have different amounts of power of assistance and things. So, we try to take control of all the different things that are going on here. So you can see the different colors belong to the different things. And we can either dispatch to one of these areas directly, which we will be doing very shortly, or we can detach a troop. So when you detach a troop, the idea is that we can set our individual members' actions so that with the AI that controls them knows what to do with those particular characters. So it's a fair little bit better than dealing with them themselves. However, the AI is actually kind of worthless. I have had nothing but bad luck sending out troops on dispatch. They've always come back with multiple losses and like 10 gold, which is completely a waste of time. So there's like 0 point to me anyway, to doing this. So the main point of war is to go to war. So we can pick a battlefield to go to. Unfortunately, we can only pick one of two. We will pick Burgerus, because why not, right? And so every war has a different set of battles going on, and the battle is currently occurring here. And there is a bunch of time in the battle, and when we go into the battle, we'll be given a... If we press square, we can actually update this, because this does actually happen in real time. So, if I press square, it refreshes everything, and this does happen in real time. So you can capture different things every now and again, and the battles are won and lost depending on the advances made in research and all that. So let's actually join this war, this battle here. And when the game decides it wants to load, alright, so this is how battles work. We can place down all sorts of different types of defenses, and they all have different effects. You can use them to stop enemies from advancing. You can use them to get as many attacks in on enemies as possible. And all these fortifications that are blue are mine. I have actually changed my allegiance because I thought that might make the war go faster. I'm an idiot. And the idea is that you have to successfully prevent your opponents from taking as much of your fortresses as possible. And by putting down these defenses, you can do that. So, we're about to go to war, and we're about to see how all this works. I'll show off my second party and then my first party, because you'll understand why in a moment. Once we go to war. Alright, here we go. So all our stuff goes down. And for some reason, we have 0 armaments going out right now. This is not good. So, we pick a troop. And we can also pick some special abilities. Not some special abilities. We can pick some special people to come along with us. And we can pay gold for them, and they'll be passed on to the owner. Because these people are actually... What's the word I'm looking for? These people are actually other people's mercenaries. So you can hire them and they'll be given to the other players. So now that we've hired a bunch of people, we'll go out on the battlefield. And again, the battlefield takes place in real time. So there's a bunch of both AI units and potentially even player units moving around on the field here. And we can come into contact with any of them at any time. And we will spawn AI units as well. So see, we spawn an AI unit here. And here is a fortress. We want to try and take this fortress, because if we take this fortress, we will gain more ground, and depending on who gains the most ground at the end of the battle, wins the territory. Then you continue to earn more territories, and if you earn the objective territory, you'll gain more points, and you'll get points basically no matter what you do. But yeah, the idea is you just got to earn as many points as possible. So let's take this guy here and try and beat the shit out of this lady. And now it's her turn. And she's gone charge. I want to get in there and stop that if I can. But I don't think I've got the movement range. Damn. Alright. Let's see, what else does this guy have? Alright, well... That's not guard. That's guard. Jesus. Alright. Another Lancer, because we have a ton of these guys right now. Alright, we'll guard with him. Needle Trap. That's going to be a bit of a bitch, because I can't move past that, and now she's hidden too, so she can move about as she pleases. We have someone throwing out a heal potion. Fair enough. And, oh, that stung a little. Okay, so here's my gunner. Oh. Oh, she warped all the way up here, huh? Alright, so. The gun has a bunch of both long-range and mid-range attacks, but we'll do a poison shock here because I can do this. And that stings for her, because that's painful. Also, yep, there's an archer back there, so you'll be able to see how that works too. The strategy is arguably at its most interesting when you're working with these people here. When you're working with hired mercenaries, that is. When you're working with the hired mercenaries, everything is so much more interesting because you can take along up to 6 people at any one time. There are also continuous battles, successive battles, that can happen during main quests and these wars as well. And doing multiple of these battles at any one time will have more benefits. But again, you have to basically go straight on to the next one. You can use other things. Like, you can use... what's the word I'm looking for? You can use items to brain work with me here. I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, this is where the game is arguably at its most interesting, because you can have the most troops out on the field at once, and they can be doing the most things at once. So, you can have all sorts of classes doing all sorts of crazy shit. Alright, who's next? This Lancer, unfortunately, he can't move very far, so I think my goal here at the moment is to stay here and try and guard this guy if I can. It's not like I'm going to help him standing all the way over here, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Archer, you die now. I timed that badly because I haven't actually used this specific loadout before. You die. Because Dragon Mages are just that awesome. I do not want to attack my own guy because you can do that. And the game won't actually warn you if you're about to do that, which is a little bit annoying, but not that big of a deal. Oh, there she is. Unfortunately, she didn't... well, fortunately, I should say, for me, she didn't go for the gunner. Which really would have been the smart thing to do, because then now I'm going to do this. The AI in this game isn't particularly fantastic, is it? Paralyzed arrow, huh? So yeah, the strategy is definitely at its most interesting here. You can spend, and I can imagine spending a ton of time building up... shit. I can imagine spending a ton of time building up a massive array of troops and strategies and stuff like that. Because you can carry up to 50 people and you've only got room for like 20 something of them, which is a little odd, but you can spend an absolute ton of time just working on a good set of troops to take along with you. Yay, they leveled up, so now I get to improve them.
This is true power.
Level 9 Legionnaires. I'm probably going to die if I do this, so I'm going to retreat and I'll come back. Because if I come back with a different troop, then, well, we can do something very interesting indeed. So, wait for it. Wait for it to load. And we're put back out here on the battlefield. So, I've done some damage to it, but not that much, unfortunately. So, if I can't remember exactly what button it is. Alright, here it is. Operation menu. If I change my dispatch troop, I can change to another troop here and carry on the fight. So, I'll bring along this guy here, because why not? Might as well have a bunch of, might as well have a bunch of cannon fodder. But yeah, now I can bring along my other troop and go into battle with them, and then the other team can go and heal up. So, this is why you want to have multiple guys at once, because when you have multiple people working at once,
Help your allies and you'll also help
when you have multiple people working on this at once, you have... when you have multiple teams working on this at once, you can be constantly going back to the front line beating people up. Which is great, because it means as long as you've got a good party going, you'll never be dropped out of the fight. And even if your troop, like, fully dies out, giving them a... oh, God. giving them a good amount of time will help with, well, basically making this all work. So I'm just gonna guard here. Because I can't see this working in any way other than positively for me at the moment. So we'll just guard here and wait for this member to do something. Oh, God. Good guarding. Good guarding. I guess the main question you want to be asking with this game is, do you want to be constantly embroiled in this online war? Because this is literally the entire game. Like, the campaign is basically worth nothing at this point. It's just, it is, honest to God, the only thing worth doing in this entire game. Basically just building up your resources and going to war. Except there doesn't really seem to be that much of a reward for going to war. Sure, you might get better stuff, because depending on how well your current team is doing, you will have different stuff available in your capital city shop, right? But at the same time, you will also have things along the lines of just, like, you'll have to be constantly winning wars in order to get the best stuff, which is a little bit unfortunate. So you have to be constantly winning wars in order to actually get anything done, which is a little bit disappointing, but we'll deal with that. However, as you can see, I'm currently going up against a level 11 troop right now, which is kind of ridiculous, because level 11 compared to my level 9. Okay, it's this chance. We'll go for that, because we do not want to fuck around with enemy troop that's 2 levels higher than us. As shown by the fact that that guy just took a massive amount of damage to me. Well, I took a massive amount of damage to him, I'm sorry. And I took a little bit of extra damage there as well, but we will do the assist and take out their leader while we've got the chance. So the question is, do you want to be constantly embroiled in this endless war where things just... Yeah, that guy's a friendly, so I want to be attacking this guy. Bit of damage there, but we can take him out. And we can retreat and heal later on if we get this battle done. So do you want to be constantly embroiled in this endless war where you just have to be constantly upgrading your troops and working on them and just constantly working on stuff like that? Do you want to... Oh dear. Do you want to be part of this? Is the main question. If this appeals to you, if you play games like PlanetSide 2 and enjoy the whole continental war sort of thing going on, if you played those old, like, text-based web games where you'd constantly be playing with all the numbers and all that and working on stuff like that, if you were constantly playing games like that, like early on in the days of the internet, this sort of game will appeal to you amazingly, right? It will appeal to you massively. We'll use a recovery drop and just move straight on to the next fight because I don't want to spend too little time out in the menus. But, yeah, so do you want to spend all your time basically doing that? Because the campaign and the single-player missions, all those basically are excuses to level up your guys. That's basically all the point of them are. That's the entire point. They say that the campaign's there, and it is realistically there, and you can do it. Don't get me wrong. It's there. It's worth doing to get your guys up a little bit, you know? But still, the war is the main point that you're going to be going through. There goes my leader. I'm probably going to die. But yeah. Basically, the entire point of this game is to go to war. Do you want to go to war or not? If you don't bother picking this game up, because this is literally the entire point. This is all that's worth doing. But if you do want to go to war, if you do want to spend the time working on earning your troops and building them up successfully and stuff like that, if that appeals to you, then this game will be right up your alley, because that is literally all this game is. The strategy, don't get me wrong, it's fun, but it does come with... Why did she give herself poison? I don't flippin' know. But yeah, I'm going to take her out while I've got the chance. But yeah, if all that appeals to you, then go right ahead and buy this, because you will probably have a fantastic time. There is a couple of problems that come with that though, like the fact that the game basically has to be online to go to war. You have to be dealing with that pretty much constantly, so you have to be constantly going online in order to get war updates and get your troops back and go out to war and stuff like that. In order to... Oh god. In order to, you know, fight these enemies and all that, you do have to be out. You do have to be constantly just fighting these people. And... yeah, they're gonna grit. Yeah. And now I'm going to use my next character to either try and heal up. Oh. There we go. Now you're dead. And we'll heal up while we have the opportunity. So, yeah, you're basically going to be fighting brick walls like this constantly. Like, see how I'm fighting level 11s right now? I basically have no control who I fight at the moment, right? So, I basically can't fight... If I am, like, a new player, and I'm level 5, and the game's been out for... That hurt myself a little bit more than it hurt him, not great. If I'm a level 5 player, for example, and I come into the war and everyone's level 30, I don't stand a freaking chance, right? So, it's... I'm just gonna let him die. I'll save my grit for someone who might actually help out a little. So, yeah, if you come into this game late, you don't stand a chance, and I'm sorry about that. But that's just the way this sort of game works. There is also the problem of what will happen when the servers go down. That is going to be a big issue, because when the server goes down, all there's going to be is the single player quests and the... All there's going to be is the single player quests and the exploration. That's all there is. That's all that's going to be here. And that is going to be a bit of a problem, because what makes this game worthwhile is its online war functionality, where you can go online and fight with other people. But yeah, if you're not going to be playing the game for that, you might as well not play Grand Kingdom at all. Thankfully, you would have had the opportunity to try this with the live demo. So if you went and played the live demo to try it out, well, you would have had the ability to try this out. Just unfortunate that that demo is not going to be around for very long. The graphics are fine. It does kind of feel like a... I don't want to call it a Vanillaware ripoff, because they're obviously like trying to go for their own style and all that. But at the same time, it really does feel like they're trying to clone Vanillaware, because the guy who made this previous game was Grand Knight's History, which was a game with the same sort of concept, but Vanillaware made it. So it had the Vanillaware style and Vanillaware graphics and pretty much everything you can imagine when it comes to that, right? So it does kind of feel like they're trying to clone Vanillaware. But honestly, they did a pretty good job of it. I'm not too offended by looking at it. It's just notable that it kind of looks like Vanillaware. Not a big deal in the slightest, honestly. I don't mind it at all. So, if you're looking for a good strategy game with a huge online component, this is definitely your thing. Me, personally, I honestly can't stand the thought of... just playing through this whole, like, war section over and over and over again, constantly building up my troops and doing stuff like that, right? It's just, it's not my thing, and I really don't see myself playing this game much longer after doing this video. Which is a shame. I was hoping it'd be a little bit more single-player content focused, but it does not appear to be so. Which is a real shame. But the strategy itself is fun, and if you can deal with the online war stuff, well, I have absolutely no qualm with recommending this game to you whatsoever. But when the servers go down, you'll basically be left with a subpar strategy RPG, and that's basically all I've got. So yeah, I lost 2 of my guys there, but the 2 that survived leveled up, which is quite nice, actually. So yeah, that's basically how this whole game works. There's a lot to do, but it's mainly going to be in the online war where your time's going to be spent. We're going to retreat because I'm not going to go through another fight with such weakened characters. I just banged my knee against the table. I'm sorry. Probably heard that. But yeah, as you can see, we've taken this down a bit. Unfortunately, we've gone and lost a place here, which is quite unfortunate. And these things can get stronger and, you know, research and all that. If I had to ask for one particular thing to be added to this game, it would be a sort of social system where we could talk amongst ourselves and talk about just what to do in the case of the war. Because I would really like the ability to just, you know, communicate with my teammates and work that all out and stuff. Sure, you can form mercenary units and clans and stuff like that in-game, but there's no sort of, like, messaging system or any idea of what there is to do. We're just gonna pop out of the war now, because there's really no point to it. You've seen what it's like, you understand what it is. It does build on the single player being a sort of tutorial for the war of sorts, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, yeah. That was a look at Grand Kingdom. It's alright. Like, if you're gonna... If the online war appeals to you like those old games of Web 2.0, then go for it. You'll have a fantastic time, but the strategy is not enough if you're not going to be into the war part, right? So, yeah, that's basically all I've got to say about Grand Kingdom. So this has been Blue Maxima, and I'll see you all next time.